Bullshit PR never stops. From the Sussex Meghan gets ridiculed for winning awards with her podcast. Hello and a very warm welcome back to LVT News YouTube. It's been all over the media that Meghan Markle is apparently going to be given a Gracie Award. Now evidently Meghan Markle is being honored for being the top entertainment podcast host. I guess to be fair, hosting is the only thing that Meghan could possibly get an award for, because as we already know, she was not even responsible for the creation or the execution of that podcast. No, the person behind the creation and the execution of Archetypes was Rebecca Sonatas, and she's not working with Archibald anymore. We need to give credit where credit is due though. So alright, to be fair, Meghan Markle did host the podcast. Now if you'd never heard of the Gracie Awards before, which I hadn't, the Gracie Awards are all about recognizing exemplary programming created by women for women and about women in all facets of both media, and I don't know why though they wanted to cheapen that award by recognizing Meghan Markle. Her podcast series was created by a woman and it is supposed to be about women, but the reality is it was only created for one single woman, and that of course is Meghan. After you listen to the first 2 episodes of the podcast, it becomes pretty clear that its purpose is not about subverting labels used to hold women back like it claims to do. Its purpose is to answer the criticisms that Meghan has been subjected to. Now, to be fair, some of her guests were really amazing women. Interesting, fascinating, but each episode focused a lot more on Meghan than it did her guests. If her guests talked about adversity, for example, well, Meghan would give some story of her own. A few of these stories also turned out to be big lies under scrutiny. Now Meghan was once again called for her words, not exactly reflecting the truth. And Meghan had women on her show that were not held back, but in fact were very successful. The whole premise that her podcast brought to light issues that no one has addressed is completely made up, and that brings me to the most annoying thing about the whole podcast series. There are 2 big reasons that Meghan's podcast and overall advocacy for women and women's issues is a complete joke. Okay, first thing, no woman can possibly help back in this day and age unless you allow it to happen. I'm sorry, but it's true. Our mothers and our grandmothers fought so hard for changes that offered women a way to never be held back or never be treated unfairly again. We as women now have so many resources to fight these things. I hate the whole victim narrative that we find at Plague and Architects. And the second issue is that Meghan Markle herself is such a hypocrite. One of her episodes was focusing on slut-shaming, and she conveniently forgot to discuss how she slut-shamed her own sister. Meghan has used men her whole life to get. It started with her father, who gave her a great education, and then there was her first husband who helped her get her foot in the door in some media circles and financially supported her because she couldn't get work as an actress, and then there was that chef who helped her get into the Toronto social scene, and then of course we've got her current husband, Harry, who helped her get the fame that she was desperately wanting. I'm curious, how much money do you think how to donate to the Gracie Awards to get Meghan this stupid award? The donation could definitely slay the poor choice of Meghan Markle as a recipient. Maybe they chose her without any donation, and if so, well, what is wrong with them? It's an inconvenient thing for Meghan that she seems to forget that she's trying to create this persona for herself that was never real, and just a quick look on the internet can prove that Meghan's scholastic achievements, for example, are big fat lies, and her Hollywood actress career is another lie, because the role that she had was reduced to 30 seconds, and even then it's not like she was igniting the. And I guess she's kind of cute. But Meghan Markle is not beautiful compared to the thousands of other hopefuls, and she always had an opinion that is suitable for a wannabe. Meghan paid thousands to have raised every trace of her past CD life, but it was too late for people who had already hit the ground running and downloaded some of the more intimate roles that Meghan had received money for. Apparently Meghan does not have a very good memory. So I guess being a good liar is pretty difficult for. It doesn't matter how many awards she gets. She's never going to make herself look good. This attempt to achieve celebrity status and fame is just pathetic. Meghan will forever be infamous though, which is never going to translate to the lucrative opportunities that she's so desperate for. Shifting gear is a little, let's talk about this alleged phone hacking case. Some people have been asking, why did the royal family withhold information from Harry and Meghan that their phones had been hacked over a 6-year period? This question though has to be asked by people who are either not bothered to actually read the nuts and bolts of the case that Harry is involved in, or maybe they're just not very good at comprehending. So the truth is, 6 years is the statutory limit for bringing a case for the unlawful gathering of information or the publication of articles revealing such information. The judge in the class action lawsuit against Mirror Group newspapers that's supposed to be heard at trial on May 9 ruled at the preliminary hearing that the plaintiffs couldn't sue for the publication of their information because it was already outside the statutory period. It was such a long time ago that when some of those stories were published, Harry was still dating Chelsea David. While the plaintiffs were aware of the stories when they actually came out and they should have sued within 6 years, they weren't necessarily aware of how that information was gotten and by whom. So it's not like they could have really brought a case to court, and for that reason the judge decided in the Mirror Group case that he would like to hear the legal arguments for why the plaintiffs didn't file a case within the 6-year period allowed by the. And if the reason turns out to be that the information was intentionally withheld, obscured or otherwise kept from the plaintiff in spite of them exercising due diligence to figure things out, then they have the right to file suit as soon as they become aware that their information was unlawfully gathered. So basically the perpetrator does not get away with hiding something for 6 years just so nobody can file a lawsuit against. Most likely the same arguments in the Mirror Group hearing are going to apply the current case against ANL. The newspaper is making the argument that the plaintiffs are out of time, and the plaintiffs are saying that they only knew about how their personal information had been collected in 2021 when the private investigator Gavin Burrows confessed. Now it sounds like that might have worked very well for them. But the problem is Burrows has retracted his confession and now he claims that he didn't do. Some of the claimants may not have had the contacts or the resources to figure out who was getting their information and how, so their reasonable due diligence is not going to be held to such a high standard as Harry's. The royal family actually knew about the phone hacking because they were the subject of it over and over again, but they did not want to go through a public trial. Their level of awareness would make a mockery of Harry trying to avoid the 6-year limitation, and that's why he's trying to say that they withheld all information from him. Complete ignorance or coercive control would be Harry's only legal entitlements to file lawsuit against Mirror Group or associated newspapers for actions committed more than 6 years ago. The way I see it is this: if Harry did not know about unlawful data gathering until only a few years ago, then he has to be either lying or he's just willfully ignorant. His family may have hidden it from him, but the paper sure did not. Here are just a few headlines from 2013, and that was 10 years ago. And if Harry was not willfully ignorant of what was going on in the world of phone hacking, then he had to have been coerced to remain silent and not rock the boat. And Harry has said basically that much. Now he's free from the constraints of the monarchy, so he can settle his own scores against the media who supposedly made his life so miserable. But the problem is Harry is out of time unless the judge agrees that his circumstances are exceptional. That is, now Meghan doesn't have a thing to do with these court cases. If Meghan or Harry's phones had been hacked in the years since they've been together, then I think it's safe to say there would be so many lawsuits already filed. And you, what do you think about Harry's lawsuit? Please continue to discuss him and Meghan with us below in the comments. If you think my video is useful, please remember to like and share with your friends and family members who would love it anytime you want, and please subscribe to our LVT News channel to get more updates from our team. Thank you so much for watching. Good night, and we'll be back to see you all